Welcome to Lawsuits and Lessons, your show where we talk to entrepreneurs, business people. We just talk to them about their insights, about the knowledge they have, about the skills they've had. We just talk to them and have fun. And I'm Steve Cooper, and I'm here with my good friend, all the way down there in Texas, season ticket holder for the San Antonio Spurs, Mr. John Fagerholm. What's up, John?
What's up, Coop? How's everything way up north in New Jersey?
It's good. We finally got a weather break, man. I'll tell you, we had that air quality. It was so bad. I actually put a mask on because it was, and I walked into a bank and I thought I was going to rob it. No, I put the mask on because the air quality was code red. That's how bad the quality was. Worse than we ever saw in LA for all the years. This was awful, but it's better now. But you're doing well, John?
No problems, no issues, everything's great.
All right, good. Well, we got a good show today. You know, our guest is a friend of mine. She's a big fan of the show. Big fan of the show. She's texted me after the show and go, "I love your show." She also listens to Cooper Talk and she comes and supports my comedy all the time. And she's the head honcho there at A6 Financial and Business Optimization, or as she says, hashtag A6FinBiz. It's my friend Stacey Linderman. What's up, Stacey?
Hello. I'm excited to be with you guys. I am a big fan. I might be the biggest fan.
There you go. You know, John, maybe if you play it right, she'll send you a shirt. I was gonna wear it tonight, but I didn't get a new one. I only had the old one. I was promised a new shirt, and it says A6 Fin Biz. That's a cool shirt. It's nice. It's nice. It's not like a cheap shit I would give away. It's like some good stuff.
It's unacceptable. I need to get you a new shirt. I do. Unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm a size medium, Stacy, so
Medium. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. You'll love our shirts.
I'll tell you, John will wear it. John is quite the fashion dapper man. So, Stacy, before we start talking about your path to your success, tell us about A6 Financial Business Optimization.
We are a CFO services company, which in short is financial literacy at the corporate level. So we do only do business to business companies that are, in business for at least like probably 3 years, up until 20, 30 years, usually netting around anywhere, usually 3 million or above type of thing. And they don't necessarily want a full-time chief financial officer, but they need someone to help them manage and understand their financials.
Stacy, let's start by asking what does a CFO even do? You know, I think in your market, but I've never had a CFO and I honestly don't really know exactly what they do.
Oh, really? Okay. Um, I love that question. So, are you charging the right price for your product and service? Or is your billable hour correct? Can you really afford to hire those three people? Should you be outsourcing rather than keeping people inside? Are your financials really telling you a story? Is your cash flow supporting what you need? So I ask all those questions because they're the things that run through entrepreneurs' heads, like whether they're at $1 billion or they're at $300,000. They're like, am I bringing enough in to pay myself? When I first started this company, just say you made $1 million and you were paying yourself 100,000, and now you're making 2 million and you're still paying yourself 100,000. Like, what can you do to increase your take home? How to have real financial stability? Did that give you all some fun facts?
Yeah, it answered it, and my biggest issue is always taxes, right? Like how do I optimize my business so I'm not paying my profits into a majority of my profits into taxes, right? Because my two biggest expenses are employees and taxes, right? So the things I'm always trying to figure out is, do I need to hire more and how do I stop paying taxes? Or not stop paying taxes, but reduce my tax burden.
Yeah, there are tax strategist people out there. Usually your chief financial person will work with your accounts payable team, your like your bookkeeping, but your like accounts payable, your accounts receivable, your accountant, maybe even a financial advisor, a tax strategist, and pull the entire story together for you. But we do think about taxes in mostly everything we do. Like I'm sure there's like from your world, like people are they'll say, should I be an S Corp because 1 year I'm making so much money and I'm paying taxes? Should I be a C Corp? Should I be an LLC? Like, how do I avoid so many taxes? And there's strategies around that, but mostly like at the base is how do you avoid fees by being proactive? Because there are tons of tax fees built into stuff, like when you don't do estimated taxes or you don't pay enough. So we get into that type of stuff with our clients.
Okay, no, I was gonna say, what's your path to getting into this? Because I'm sure that no one's sitting there going to college going, one day I'm going to be running a 6 fin biz. Like, what was your path to coming into branching out and doing this? Because it's not something you hear every day. I mean, we go to a lot of networking events. A lot of people don't do what you do. So, what was your path to getting into this? Because it's something that it's a very niche business, just like John with your business law, very niche business. So, what was your path to getting into this?
Yeah. I started out with I mean, originally, we all have different career paths, but I started out with like a love of the budget. Like I was on the budgeting side. Um, did some accounting, did some finance, was definitely a numbers person. And then, you get promoted up the chain and you eventually become the chief financial officer. And you do that at one, two different companies or whatever. And like, I loved my job and what I did, but you worked for one organization. And then you get to like a kind of a point in your life where I wasn't, you ask the question sometimes to people like, oh, did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And for me, no, I didn't. I never even thought about it. I liked what I did at a corporate level and I knew I was doing a great job. But you were on that one topic like that. If you worked in manufacturing, you were just in manufacturing. For me, I was in higher education and I was focused in higher education. Um, when I went off on my own, then you get clients in so many different verticals. I didn't realize how much I would enjoy that, but I did know that I felt like I had a gift in a weird area, like, right? Like a gift in like seeing the reality through the fog. And I wanted to share that gift with people that couldn't normally afford us. Um, and so I, kind of like it was the bravest, craziest, most insane thing I've ever done. I just went off on my own. And I never considered myself a brave, just jump in the water type of person, but I did it. And it was, as you know, Steve, pre-pandemic where, there were not all these fractional workers out there. And I just was like offering the service. I got the idea because I was a CFO in corporate that I wish I could clone myself. Like I could hire a front desk person, a bookkeeping person, a payroll person. But at the time, you couldn't really find someone that could do senior level financial analysis. You could get a consultant to come in and tell you how to do it. Like I'd say, okay, I have this problem. They're like, all right, so this is what you need to do. And I'm like, yeah, I know what I need to do, but I'm already working 7 days a week and I want to pay you to do it. I don't want you to pay, I'm not paying for you to tell me what to do. I want you to come in and do it. And I couldn't find that person. So I thought, like, it was probably the craziest thing, like I said, I ever did. But I thought, I'm going to invent that company and I'm going to do that. And now, all these years later, we're super, super boutique, all in, 10 of us soaking wet. Um, but we've been making it work. And really love what I do. You said in one of the other podcasts, John, about that you just never know who's going to call you, what projects you're going to work on, how much you're going to have to pivot and get into somebody's business. And that's a big driver for me.
Yeah, it sounds like what you do and what I do are very similar in the way they operate, just we're doing different things, right? I'm doing the legal side and you're doing the financial side.
Yes, definitely.
And how do you get your clients?
I track every single client where they came in from, and I would wish I could tell you there was a magic formula. In the beginning, it came in from it was before networking, right? It was before I really got into networking. It was anybody that you kind of negotiated a contract with or against, or you were involved in a buy sell agreement, or you did a land lease with, like someone that knew your body of work. And then I went out on my own and was like, hey, we can work. If you have projects, we're now free. I'm now a free agent, and shockingly got pretty busy pretty quick. And then word of mouth, like return clients and referrals was how we really kept the funnel busy for, the first so many years. I would say now organic search, which is nuts, and I don't know how that'll be in the future. But right now, a good 30% comes from just people finding us. Um, and then 20% maybe through networking, and then still through client referrals.
When you went out on your own, and we always talk to people about this, when was it that you knew that you had to start hiring people? Because John's built a law firm. At one point, John was just him. We talk to people, it's just you. And a lot of times people jump too early. They sit there and they think, oh, because they want to look like, oh, look at me, I got employees. But then they're sitting there going, why am I paying this out when I can't justify it? But once again, it's the fake it till you make it syndrome. But when did you know when you should start hiring employees? Because it's got to be a sort of a daunting task when you're newer. And as you said, you're not the type of person to just jump into the water. That's not your personality. If it's your personality, you're like, ah, screw it. Yeah, we'll spend money here, we'll spend money here. But for you, when did you know to just have people? When did you decide it's time for me to start hiring someone?
I started out thinking I would be a solopreneur. Like I wasn't hiring. I was only going to whatever I could handle myself. I was not very, like, I didn't think I was going to bring anybody on. I didn't think I would have any subs or consultants. It was what I could handle on my own. And then you realize model wise, if I have just say solid two on retainer clients, maybe one or two projects on top of that, and running the business, well, you're either going to bring people on, or you're going to turn people away. And I really didn't want to turn people away. You have like an initial call with them, and then you're like hooked. You want to help them, and their story is so interesting, and their concept is so interesting. And especially when it's something you never dealt with before, and you're like, I really want to be involved in that, but I can't personally do it. So at that point, for me, I went after the people that I like worked with, worked for me, that I just like loved, and was like, "Hey, do you want to do some project work for us?" Um, and I really kind of stalked the retirees, frankly, like people that I had my eyes on for like a long time. That I was like, "Oh, this person's really good." The second they announced their retirement on LinkedIn, I'm jumping on them.
That's awesome. So is it people that retire and want to do extra work, or they retired from whatever corporate gig and now they work for you full time?
Hmm. Yeah, or part time, or as much as they'll give. As much as they'll give. Some of them are like, "Oh, I'll give you 1 day a week max." And other people are like, "I will only work on projects in the winter." Whereas other people are like, "Yeah, I left and I no, I want to be as busy as you can keep me." So that's always like a balancing act, right? Like I'm sure it's the same for you, John. Like, how do you keep the entire team busy? And how do you justify it when you may not have as much of a client load as you would love, right? For me, I try to leverage that time, work on infrastructure, do things that have been on my to do list forever, company wise. But yeah, day to day, it is scary. We joked about this, Steve, when you ask people how they're doing, and they're like, great, the company is great. Well, nobody has a great year every year. Like, come on, right? Um, it's just how fearless can you be to weather the storm with the months that are not as good?
Are you the rainmaker of your company?
Yes, I definitely think so. Yes. Yes. I mean, it's rare that someone else is like, "Oh, I have a client," you know, I didn't want the company name to be all about me, and I didn't like, you're always thinking of the future, right? As a business, I help people buy or sell, right? So you're always thinking about the future, and I did not want my name in the title of the company at all. Um, but I do have clients joke that I am the brand. Like, it kinda does become you.
This is a question for both of you. Okay. Explain to me, not the savvy business person like you. I know there's a John Grisham book called The Rainmaker, the movie. What the hell is a rainmaker? And why don't you explain what a rainmaker is? Besides, like, someone who's a weatherman, like, oh, it's going to rain. What is a rainmaker?
Mine is just the person that does the sales, the person that brings in the clients. Because sometimes people are fortunate where they have people on their team that also bring in clients and keep the revenue flowing. Um, but my consultants or my team members, they bring in return clients. Like people love them, they give them a great review, people come back to them, but rarely do they bring a new client. Like sales is not their thing. But I hire all finance people and usually, they can, be a tad bit boring, so they're not they're not necessarily the people that are bringing in new clients. I want to hear your answer, John. It's probably way better than mine.
So Rainmaker is a pretty common term in law. I mean, and I'm sure they use it in other places too. And the thing that struck me when I was first becoming a lawyer was uh, a partner at a firm asked me because I was trying to be the smartest guy, and he's like, "Who do you think is the most important person at the firm?" And I thought it was like, "Oh, the best attorney." And he's like, "Nope, the guy that brings in the business." So I was always pretty good at it anyway, pretty good at sales. I mean, I was a door-to-door insurance salesman. Like I had done a lot of this stuff already anyway. Uh, and my focus, when I was working at a law firm, it was while I was in law school. So my focus was always to get out of, or get through law school, pass the bar, and then start my own business. I wasn't gonna work for anyone anyway. Once I got going, but that really stuck with me. And so I really focused on being the guy bringing in the business, even though I brought in partners. And normally when I brought in a partner, it was because I thought they were brilliant attorneys, better than me, right? Like, hey, this guy is, you know, uh, my last partner, it was because he beat me in court. And I was like, wow, this guy is awesome, right? So I brought him in as a partner,
The people that you think are amazing.
yeah, and the partner that I had before that, it was because he was so good at analysis, and I was like, "Okay, like, I do it by feel and then go to analysis." He is just dives right into the analysis, and he was so good, and I was like, "Okay, I have to have this guy." And the thing is, most of these guys that are really, really, really good at their craft, like you said, Stacey, may not be as good at getting the clients, one of my partners, he was trying to be on the Rainmaker side, and I think I've told this story before, but he would get them in, and he would do the whole spiel about what he can do, but then he would text me when it's time to ask for money, because that was his little hitch. He just couldn't bring himself to ask for the money, right? And so then I would come in, introduce myself, ask for the money, right? And then, over the years, he got good and then didn't need me to do that for him anymore. But there was always something that was missing on the sales side. And I think, number one, most people aren't good at sales anyway, but also um, most people really aren't good at asking for money. And that's really the key, right? Because that's what the sales is asking for the money.
I got a question for both you guys now, because you're both talking about asking for the money, John and Stacy. You guys both have your own businesses, and I've run into this when I perform. Sometimes we'll go, "Oh, how much should we pay you?" And I used to undervalue myself, okay, and because that was just something from years when I started doing stand up, and then a while back I did this private gig and I threw this figure out and they said, "Okay," and I said, "Whoa, whoa, all right." But how do you sit there, both of you? How do you establish, or how would you tell a young entrepreneur or anyone starting an entrepreneur, how do you establish what you should ask for? Because for like, it's not like there's a market, like you sit there and go in a book and go, okay, what Stacy, CFO, this, or John, what the law you do now. Oh, listen, how do you guys find out what is your price point? What is your value? How do you feel worthy asking for that? Because what if you come up with a huge number and they just laugh at you? Then you feel like an idiot. You'd be like, "Oh my God, this is awful." So both of you go, because this is fast. This kind of stuff fascinates me because I can learn from this. Stacy, you go first.
So this is actually a service that we do offer to our clients, like analyzing their price point and is it right for them. But um obviously there's comp analysis out there that you could do, what other firms are charging in similar verticals and type of thing. But us being like we live by the numbers. I did a bottom up real analysis of what the hour is worth, what it costs, what the override needs to be. And when we started out, we were a fully remote team, always have been since day one. And that model was established so that we did not have the overhead. We didn't have the bricks and mortar. We didn't have the, like, just say comparing us to one of the big five, whatever firms. I don't want to use any of them by name because some of them are clients of A6. We don't have the fancy conferences and fancy dinners and, like I said, electric and rent and all this overhead that goes into our billable hour, and that's how we can remain on the lower side of competitive. But we did like our number, I stand by it. So like we don't do the arbitrary, okay, it's a new year, the market can bear it. Let's add $10, $20 to it, a type of thing. And our clients that are law firms, we help them. How much should they be charging for the paralegal rate? How much should the quarter hour be compared to the hour for an attorney and that type of thing? So I take the rate, and we could actually do this over coffee for you, Steve. Like, what is it really worth and what you should be charging? I mean, you know your worth. You're amazing at what you do. Um, and they're getting every penny. I didn't question my worth, but I'm like, can the market bear it? So I get on in this, but I want to hear what you have to say, John.
Yeah, John, I was just interesting because you've been in the business for a long time, and you changed businesses. I mean, you're a lawyer, but it's two different things. So, how did you establish your worth at what you do now?
Well, I started out by what Stacy said, looking at the market and looking at what people charge. But then I also uh, look at who I want as a client. So when you first start out, you sort of take whoever will pay you, right? That's just the way it is. But then I always was trying to because it started out with very small businesses, and then I would start going to really working on leveling up, right? And each time I leveled up, then I charged more. Also with lawyers, I don't know if this is the same with you, Stacy, but we're like jazz singers, the longer we're or jazz musicians, I should say, the longer we're in the business, the more value we have, right? So I couldn't charge as much at 10 years as I'm charging at 25 years, right? And then part of it also I adjust for I call it the pain in the ass tax, right? There's just some clients that are a pain in the ass, and unfortunately, they just have to pay more for being a pain in the ass. It just is the way it is because I have to deal with more BS. And then there's some clients that are just amazing clients. And even though every year I adjust my rates a little bit, for those clients, I don't. It's like having a good renter where you're like, I can charge an extra $20, or I can just keep this amazing renter, that's rented from me forever, always pays on time, doesn't ask for anything extra. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's an exact science, but I try to bump up the rates every year just a little bit. And then there's some that you have to come down on, right? And then you get to a certain rate where number one, you're just not going to go below. And then number two, there's just certain clients you're not going to go below that rate. So for example, I'll have uh people call me and they'll say, they want to be a client and I've never met them. They've never met me. We've talked on the phone the first time. And then they say, oh, can you give me a discount? And uh, I just don't do that unless you're already my client. And so someone that wants a discount for the sake of a discount, they're not going to get that from me. Someone that actually needs a discount, like, hey, I want to use you, but the rates are too high, and to them, I'll go, okay, let's work something out. The one that just wants the discount, you can tell the ones that can afford it, but just want the discount because that's just who they are. They just play a zero sum game, and usually my response to them is like, no, but I can introduce you to an attorney that you can afford, maybe a first year attorney or something. And then that usually is like, oh no, I can afford it. I was just trying to get a discount, right? So, uh, it just depends. It just depends on the person who it is. There's so many factors.
Those are the worst people, the ones that can't afford them at a discount. Now, when I was a kid, I used to shovel sidewalks sometimes. I remember going to this big ass house, and I'm like 8 or 9. It's cold out, I got my hat on, I got the shovel in this big ass driveway, nice house. The lady comes out and gives me $5. And I was like, well, yeah, but as a kid, you can't argue, and it's $5 I didn't have. But that's the thing. It's so funny because people always want to get a deal. And that's the thing. And when you own a business, it must be tough. Or even like for me, I mean, no matter what the thing is, when I was leaving LA, I put stuff up on this nice bookshelf up on Facebook Market. I didn't know, where to put it. And this person goes, "Oh, I'll give you $5 for it." And I was like, "Dude, it's a nice bookshelf." And he's like, "Well, I'll give you $5." And I sent him a message back on, "I would rather smash this and throw it away than give it to you for $5." 'Cause now how do you guys do it as a business owner? Like, what is there I wanna hear, Stacy, because 'cause you're always so nice and smiley. Do you ever get a client or a prospective client that just pisses you off so bad you just wanna say, "Shut up, shut," and how you control that because it's your business, and once again, you don't want people going, "Oh, man, that's Stacey Linderman. What an ass she was. I talked to her and she copped an attitude." How do you handle, like, when you do get a client or a very stuffy client who thinks that, they walk into the room and, "Oh, look at me. I'm, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm Steve Cooper. That's how popular I am." Now, how do you deal with someone? How do you deal with someone like that when that happens? Because you're a business owner and it's your name, but you also can't get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I think I remain very, very nice always. I really do. But I am selective on the type. Oh, I'm the client I want to work with. If we're having an intro call and my, gut tells me this person's not going to be fun to work with. You're never going to make them happy. They're asking for a discount when they haven't even heard the rate. Like maybe they should be shopping somewhere else. And I kind of just nicely will say, I'm just not feeling like this is going to be mutually beneficial, or this is not a match. Like this one's not right for both of us. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think that we put up with a lot in corporate, and whatever came in front of you, you worked on. I worked a long time to be able to say, this is the client I love. And most of the time when clients do leave us, they sell the business, they retire out, whatever happens. I mean, we miss each other so much. We're texting and staying in touch, and my clients become my friends. If I early on know, oh, this is not, I'm going to dread getting on a Zoom with them. I just me personally, I either we do not take them on as a client, or I know there's someone else on my team that might like them. They might be a better match with. But like you said, John, I don't reduce. We're not a bargain basement. The price tag is what it is. I do
Yeah.
give return client discounts, but do I give a discount for the sake of a discount? No. My rate is real. It's not discounted. You could buy less, you could ask for less, you could have less analysis, you could say, "Oh, I don't really need this piece of it." Um, but the rate is the rate.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that it's very much, it depends on what level you're at, right? When I was a new attorney, maybe you could bargain with me because, I'm selling the equivalent of a Toyota, right? But then once you have done this a long time and you get an expertise in this, then I feel like you're buying a Lamborghini and you don't go into a Lamborghini shop and say, all right, what kind of discount can you give me? It just is, it's different.
Yeah, yeah, and I go into it knowing we give our clients so much more than they pay for. Like, I go in knowing that. Like, if someone's buying, like, they're on a flat monthly retainer, we get involved in like everything above and beyond. And or if they're buying like a 20-hour book, I know the truth that they're probably getting 24, 25 hours. Like, I'm not nickel and diming my clients. So I know they're getting so much more than they even are going to think about. Just from like even a human side. Like, "Oh, Steve's hosting an event, come to it," or, "Let me introduce you to this person." Like, they're gaining so much from it. It just doesn't feel good to me to go in knowing, like, yeah, I just don't do it. It's just not our business model.
Yeah. And the other side of that too is that,
Okay.
like you said, you're giving a lot more, but then there's also the other clients, there's little old lady who can't afford it and is going to lose her restaurant. Now, I can't just tell her no. Like I have to help that person, because it just is right. So it isn't just about the hourly rate, and then there's the client that
Mm.
you've done many things for, and then something comes up and it's like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. Let me just take care of this for you. Don't worry about it. Right. Or there's that person that thinks,
But that's different, right? Because they're a client already.
yeah. And then there's that person that thinks it's the end of the world. Oh, I have this huge issue and I'm gonna lose my business. And it's like, hold on, this is easy. Let me just make this phone call. Don't worry about it. Right. And you just take care of it because it's not that big of a deal, So it's not just about the hourly rate, but again, like we've, both said, just to have someone come in first phone call and say, give me a discount, that doesn't work.
Yeah. And the people that you help, like the little lady that in your scenario, like that's what keeps you motivated, right? Like I love when people, you get a note or this or that that's like you changed my business. Like you changed the way that I'm thinking of things. We have not operated the same since you were with us. Like that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps the late nights and the weekends and going above and beyond because you it's your motivation.
Yeah. And those are also the people that are going to root for you and the people that are saying good things behind your back. So people don't realize, just as bad as it is to have people say bad things behind your back, there's so much that comes out of the people that are saying good things behind your back.
Well, okay, you were talking about business. We're talking about business, so we're going to ask Stacey because John's favorite topic is AI. Now, I got to tell you, I went on Gemini. I went on Gemini and I made some really good flyers for my networking event. I made a logo, and I have my one friend in LA that I send stupid cartoons of him. I have a picture. I say, Gemini, make a cartoon of him, drinking a beer in the middle of the park, sitting on his ass, and boom, this cartoon comes up. So I'm in. Thanks to John, I'm doing the Gemini. My cocktails with Cooper, the 3-year anniversary is coming up. I made a picture of me and I was like, this is awesome. But John has gone down the AI hole forever. How is AI, is it affecting your business at all, Stacey? Because for what you do, is it going to affect you or do you use it, or what is your view on AI?
All going to be affected just like we were affected with the onset of the internet, right? I've been using AI in some form or another before it even, people knew what artificial intelligence was probably 15, 20 years ago, where we were automating systems and using technology in a various way. Now it's just it's available to so many people. I started playing with different forms and Photoshop and whatever, like probably 3 years ago. And now recently, it's the topic on everything. I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting. I'm not far along like you are, John. I think you had said you spent like 250,000 or something on like AI infrastructure, and I definitely were nowhere near that. I do think it's going to impact our business, all of our businesses, but maybe just to work smarter. I mean, I could go on and on about the topic in terms of data security and in terms of making sure you're asking for the right question or you will not get the right answer. Um, of course I'm getting the clients who are like, "Oh, I ran this through whatever and I got this spreadsheet and sometimes I'm just like, okay. And other times I'm like, all right, well, let's log back in together. You know, now add in what state you're in. Now add in that you're set up as like a partnership agreement, blah, blah, blah. Now add in that you have over 25 employees now, whatever. And then now let's look at the results. So, you could kind of prove your point with a story. But it's all exciting.
Yeah, and I've said this warning before. It wasn't a good 250,000, Stacy. It was a bad 250,000 because I was so excited about it. And I still am excited about AI, but I was so excited about it that I was just throwing money at it and a lot of it wasn't working. So I just kept throwing money out of it at it. And then a lot of it that was working, I was having trouble getting the employees to use it. So I think I got initially so excited about it that I didn't plan it correctly. And now I'm in a good place with it. Uh, and I'm looking back at what I spent and going, oh man, that was insane that I just kept throwing more money at it. And then also because, you know, there was only what I would say a handful of people that really know how to build things. Everybody knew how to use it, but who knew how to build it? So just in the last year, the cost of getting people to build things for you is come down substantially because so many more people know how to do it, you know? So I think I was just maybe 2 years too early.
And an excitement standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. But I learned a lot. Yeah, so I'm not bummed out about it.
Yeah, and every lesson, like new entrepreneur, like people that are starting out will be like, "Well, what advice do you have?" And like, one of the things I say is don't be afraid to fail because that was one of my hardest lessons. I was afraid, like I wasn't a risk taker. And when I could get out of my own way of, all right, I'm going to make mistakes. And as long as I learn from every one of those mistakes, it's not the end of the world. And you might really leverage some of the things you built back then. It might come around to help you again. It's just maybe not to fruition right now.
Yeah, and the ideas that I had were good. It just uh it wasn't quite right. Either the AI couldn't quite do it the way I wanted it, or even when I got it to do what I wanted it to do, people didn't want to use it, right? So I think it's almost like a Fellini film, right? In his head, this looks brilliant, but then when the audience looks at it, they're like, "What the hell is this?" Right? It just is like a total mess, right? But in the director's mind or the writer's mind, it seemed okay, and it kind of felt like that a little bit. Like I had all these great ideas of, okay, each department is going to get all of these grand tools that are going to make them so much more efficient, right? But then the learning curve, uh, the abilities of the AI at the time, so a lot of waste. But I'm happy I went through that because now I really am a little more clear about what works, what doesn't work, what to keep up with, what to look for. Like, okay, I'm waiting for someone to build this thing right here. And then the other thing too is, yeah, a lot of times you're building things in AI or wanting someone to build something for you, but then there's somebody that's just about to do it anyway. So I would have these things built, right? And spend a lot of money on it. And then, several months later, there's someone that's doing it on a subscription model for a fraction of the price, so it's pretty exciting, but it can be daunting also.
Well, look at like Westlaw and Lotus, right? I mean, isn't that like one of the earliest forms you could say of like AI in a way, right? I mean, back in my early days, we went to well, in Philadelphia, we went to the Jenkins Law Library. We pulled out a big book that was heavier than probably I was and on steps. And when Westlaw came first on the market was, very early in my career before my finance days. I had Steve knows I used to be a paralegal. And like I thought nobody would use those tools.
Well, Westlaw is catching up, but they had a brief uh year or so just recently where it looked like, uh-oh, is Westlaw gonna be in business because uh there's all these tools that worked better than Westlaw. But what Westlaw and LexisNexis has above everybody else is that they have the bigger database, right? And they turned it around really quickly because I was starting to question my Westlaw subscription. Like, why do I have this thing? It's 5 grand a month, and I've got this tool that does even more than what Westlaw does, right? But of course, they didn't have the database, so you still had.
So I was going to say, but they have the reputation, right? Like they have the brand recognition that you'd probably trust them more than you would anything coming out of an AI at this point. I mean, I would, but maybe, you know more than I do, definitely in that space.
Yeah, and you still needed Westlaw to compare, right? Or to check and to do different things. But Westlaw's catching up. They've got some new tools, and uh Yeah, I think they're gonna be okay. There was a year ago, I was like, oh man, they are really in trouble. I thought they were gonna go the way of Blockbuster, right? And it would have been a similar story because Blockbuster said no to the sale of Netflix, and then Netflix put them out of business. And there's a group called Clio that we use Clio, and all the attorneys are using it. It's a billing system, but it just has all of these attachments, and they're really good at AI. And it's the same story. So Westlaw bought, well, Thomson Reuters that owns Westlaw bought Clio. I don't know how long ago, and then decided, we don't. We're just going to sell it to somebody else. And then they sold it to the somebody else, and then it looked like the new iteration of Clio was basically, to me, looked like it was gonna put Westlaw out of business, but it looks like Westlaw really turned it around. I guess when you have the big bucks, you can turn the ship around pretty quickly, you know?
Was it? It might have been on your podcast, but I heard it somewhere recently about like satellite radio. Was it you guys that were talking about that? Somebody was saying about satellite radio is like really not, doing good and whatever. Oh, okay. And they're waiting for someone else to build it out and then just take that. They're not going to invest the money in the technology that they know their competitors or someone's building it out in AI. And then
Yes, we were talking about that.
I thought it was you guys. Like, 'cause
Yeah, when we were talking about it, though, it wasn't satellite radio that we were talking about, and this might be happening in satellite radio too. But we were talking about, Alexa is horrible, Siri is horrible, right? So it's
yes,
like
that's
what?
what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, like what's the
How are they
point of
getting
these
away with
things,
it?
right?
You're saying. Yes.
Right. Yeah. How are these things so bad when there's so
Yeah.
many better, so much better? My I don't have my
Hmm.
Meta glasses on, but my Meta AI is okay. It's not great, but you use Chat GPT, and like I have a whole conversation with my Chat GPT about stuff. I'm just sitting here having a conversation. Okay, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's so much better than these big brands. But that same issue that I had with spending the 250K, these big companies are just waiting in the wings till everything kind of settles down, and you get to that point where, yeah, the point of diminishing returns where no matter how much more money you put into it, it's not it's not getting much better, right? So once it gets there, then suddenly you're gonna see this explosion of Apple and, all these companies that are they're gonna launch their thing, and it's gonna be amazing, I think. But who knows? When is this gonna happen? Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? It's not far away though.
It's interesting to watch.
I got to interrupt and say about the Meta glasses. Okay, the Meta glasses. The only thing problems with them for me is like I know dudes who just like creep with them on. Like they walk around, they take pictures of girls, and I'm like, I have a friend who does that, and he's like, yo, I'm like, dude, that's wrong. You can't do that. That's the one problem with like some of this technology. Like it's like, dude, really? You're like, he's at Starbucks in Burbank, John. He's at the Starbucks on San Fernando and Palm. It says a few 2 blocks from where John has place, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that. And he's like, "What?" I go, "Cause it's creepy, man." And that's the thing. Like AI can lead. I mean, I have conversations with Alexa about music. Then Joanne walks in, and I go, you're lucky that Alexa isn't a person, else you'd be in trouble. But because we'll have in-depth conversations. AI is just. I'm embracing it now.
Let's talk about the law portion of this show, because with the Meta glasses and taking pictures of people in public, uh, that's what people don't realize. There's no expectation of privacy in public, right? So if you're in public, I can record you all I want. There's nothing you can do about it. There, right? In fact, the law protects me from you trying to do something about it. And that's also with the police, right? So these people think, oh well, I have the right to privacy, or all these different things. The In public, the police have carte blanche to uh to record, to do anything, right? Just like we do as private citizens. So if you don't want to be snapped in your sexy undies, don't walk around in sexy undies in public. That's the lesson.
This same thing with the Apple phone that like people were, recording and
Yeah.
it went all over the place.
Hey, I walk around with my sexy undies, and everyone's like, "Get out." Get out. We don't want to see you in your sexy undies, and I get in trouble.
Everyone stops recording, right?
Exactly. Like, oh my God, cameras are cracking, everything. So Stacy, I got a question for you because you've been doing this for a while, and I always like to ask entrepreneurs this: what do you do when when doubt creeps up on your head? Because everyone doubts. Everyone's gonna have doubt. I don't care who you are. But what do you do? How do you overcome that? Because for you, it's your business. It's you. You're the head honcho. How do you overcome doubt? Because, do you have sleepless nights or when you did, how do you battle that?
I have always had the sleepless nights. I've always been such a worrier. I have been pretty good though, and I'd say the last at least 10 years of just telling that voice to shut up because you'll say things to yourself that you would never say to somebody else, like just mean things. Um, but I've done even like little exercises where like at night you like write in a book the top 3 things you're proud of that day or an accomplishment that you did or I do, hear a lot though about the imposter syndrome, and luckily, I don't know, I'm pretty good with going, "Well, if it can be done, I can do it." I think I've gotten to a point where, like, my voice in my head's pretty nice. Not about everything, I mean, like, you look in the mirror and you're like, when did I get this? Why do I look like that? So not with everything, but I think in terms of, like, the work product and us launching things or like, I'll just be like, "Enough, enough." Maybe, enough leadership training that I'm pretty good at telling that voice to stop.
Yeah, that's interesting, Stacey. Well, I had that voice for a while too, especially in the beginning. And then I kind of thought about my childhood, and then I realized like, oh, this stuff comes from like way, 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 way back there. The stuff your parents tell you, all that stuff. Was your family, were they entrepreneurs? Were they good with money? All these things factor in, right?
Never did not come from an entrepreneur background. I think family and friends thought I was insane. Um, and yeah, was the occasional supportive person. Like my sister was always like, "You could do this, you could do anything you put your mind to." I don't know if she was just, a built-in cheerleader. She's just the most supportive person. Did she even know what I was selling and whether, I could do it? But she was like, "You got this, yes." But yeah, I think, it's just your doubt that someone else knows more than you or yeah, or something that they said to you when you were a kid, but no, no, really, if they were entrepreneurs in my family, I did not know about it. You got out of high school, if you went to college, you got a job and you had benefits and you kept that job. Um and in fact, like networking has been so good to me, and the reason why I jumped into like a lot of stuff was not but people go in the room because they think they're going to get a sale. It was not that for me at all. It was to meet other entrepreneurs, people that could say, "Yeah, I get up every day and I do this," or "Yeah, I'm afraid of this too," or "I'm doing this and this is working for me," or like the Steves of the world will be like, "You're not saying that clear. Why don't let they want that they really just all want to help each other." Um, I guess we all look at networking differently, but for me, it was to find my people, to find the people that were brave enough to be entrepreneurs also, other than my clients who were, um, there were bigger entrepreneurs, but they were brave enough to do it at some point.
Yeah, and that's all the people that I spend time with are entrepreneurs. I actually don't spend much time with lawyers, believe it or not. I know most people stick with the people in their industry. I just don't at all. Not because I don't, um, like lawyers or whatever. I mean, I'm obviously one. I'm married to one, but it's just because I only have enough room for so many people, and everyone I'm around owns businesses, probably just based on what I do. But only 1% of the population are business owners. So it's a very rare group of people, and I think it takes something special to be, and that's why I love representing them. Also, it takes something special to start something, not knowing if it's going to work, risking everything for it, not getting paid most of the time, while you're building it, and then employing other people, so that 1%, uh, uh, and I'm talking about entrepreneurs, not these big corporations, right? But that 1%, uh, of these small to medium-sized businesses employs about half the population, and then the other half is government, military, I guess that would be government too, and these big corporations.
Yeah. And to get up and to keep doing it, right? To keep doing it every day and be self-directed. Like to be your own motivation.
Yeah, and I'm not complaining. It's been great, and all the successful entrepreneurs say the same thing. Oh, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because once you get to that sweet spot, or once you get over that hump, and I think I got over that hump within about 10 years, but it took 10 years of like, oh man, maybe I should just go work for a big firm and make a big salary, and or maybe I just shouldn't be a lawyer at all because it's too hard. But right at about the 10-year mark, I just, everything just kind of fit and everything fell into place. And after that, I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Well, there you go. You know what? God, that hour flew. You know what? We got to ask you, Stacey. You touched on it earlier about advice, and you said something, or but give us a little elongated answer of advice you would give to a new entrepreneur, and also to a female entrepreneur, because a lot of times it's mostly men. But what's the advice you would give?
Well, the one I had said before, my number one, just say would be try not to be afraid to fail, because if you're doing everything under an umbrella of fear, you will just stop, right? But second one is to be prepared to do everything in the business and then get to a point to where you're prepared to have someone else do it, because it's no longer, and I have these conversations with my owners, like, your hourly rate is costing you more. You should just hire someone to do this for you. Like, at what point are you losing money by doing it yourself? But also be prepared to do it yourself. And then the third one, which I would be remiss if I did not say it, is to know your numbers. Like, you really are like driving blindfolded without truly understanding your financials. Um, and that's what we get the pleasure to work with our clients on. But to answer your question about women entrepreneurs, I don't oh, that's a hard one for me, because I've always considered myself a leader, not a female leader, an entrepreneur, not a female entrepreneur, right? A CFO, not a female CFO. Um, so, and to say I would just ignore it and consider yourself a business owner would be, people would be like, is she crazy? Because the struggle is real. Um, but I guess I try to not take it into a factor at all.
No, because I agree. I always look at it as people as business, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. I always look at, comedians. They always said, they weren't a black comedian, a gay comedian, a woman comedian, whatever. They're just comedians. But I always look at the same way. So, okay. Well, anyway, this has been fun, Stacey. You got to come on to hash it up with me and John. And how can people get in touch with you?
I mean, you can reach out to me as Stacey Linderman on LinkedIn. Our website has a contact me tab. It's www.a6finbiz.com. And like I said, there's a contact tab, but pretty much if you search A6FinBiz, there is a way to get in touch with us, whether it's to follow us on social, Facebook, Instagram, our Google page, that hashtag, which hopefully I'm doing a good job branding it and getting it out there. I'll get you guys your t-shirts. That is the way to connect with us.
All right, great. And people, you can connect with me and John. Well, just go subscribe. Lawsuits and Lessons. Go on YouTube, check it out. Also go on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. Go follow it. Also, you can go find my show, Cooper Talk, my other show, coopertalk.net. I just interviewed Greg Evigan, who was from BJ and the Bear. Very, very fascinating guy and great guy. And you can go to www.coopertalk.net, and you can email me at coopertalk.net. And John, as we always say, wrap it up, my friend, wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you, Stacy. This was fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed the stories that you had and the history of it and how all of this came together and actually what you do because uh, I've been hearing that I need a CFO, but I wasn't quite sure when to get started on that. Steve, thank you for getting everything going and keeping it going. And by the way, I was just thinking about BJ and the Bear not that long ago. In fact, I was telling my wife about that show because we have shows and movies. I'm a few years older than her, so I introduced her to things like silver spoons and these things that millennials don't know about. And I was talking about BJ and the Bear. So thank you everybody for tuning in and uh, make sure you tune in. What, 2 weeks from now, Steve? That's when the next one.
Yes.
Yep. Thanks everybody. Thank you, Stacey. I'll have to reach out to you about the CFO thing because I have been thinking about that seriously.
Yes, how fun.
All right. Thank you, guys.